tempest. The innocent can never last. Wake me up when September ends. Like my father's come to pass, 7 years has gone so fast. Wake me up when September ends.
We have 500 days to avoid the climate chaos. Very important issue of climate change, climate chaos, and I said that we had 500 days to avoid the climate chaos, and I know that President Obama and John Kerry himself are committed on this subject, and I'm sure that with them.
Yet everyone on the planet gets all worked up about these pointless little behaviors, blissfully unaware of the great vaporizing meteor due in 2015. Which obviously doesn't exist because I'm kidding! Blissfully unaware of the great vaporizing meteor due in 2015. Great vaporizing meteor due in 2015.
There is good news and bad news. The bad news is, as you can see, the Dow is down 204 points right now. The good news is it's made a rebound from a shocking fall shortly after trading began this morning. And good afternoon, everyone. As soon as the bell sounded this morning, investors began to sell. The Dow dropped more than 1,000 points in the first 4 minutes of trading day today. It's on track to suffer its worst percentage decline since 2008, the beginning of the scariest financial crisis since the Great Depression. Why? Well, fears about China's economy is the easy answer. Earlier, Chinese stocks crashed and all Asian markets suffered major losses. The Shanghai Composite Index wiped out all gains made this year. European stocks fell today, too, down about 6%. The Dow plummeted by more than 1,000 points last week, its worst 5-day run since 2011.
Perspective here, 500-point decline in the stock market is a lot. A 4%, almost 4% move is a big move in one day, and there are big fears about what happens for the rest of the week. The big stocks that move, the most heavily traded stocks today, Bank of America, Apple, Netflix, some household names that you probably have in your portfolio. Apple in particular had an insane day. At one point it was positive, it was up several percent, and then was down again. So when you look in some of these names, you just see the irrational fear and then greed and then fear again in the stock market.
Fear, greed, loss of confidence in particular in China.
Well, we can call it another nightmarish day. That's what it's being used to describe Chinese stocks experiencing today amidst a global rout. The benchmark Shanghai Composite Index fell 7.63%, sinking below 3,000 points. And the drop followed the 8.49% loss on Monday in the index's biggest daily slump since February 2007. The Shenzhen Component Index also lost 7.04%. The Chinex Index, which tracks China's Nasdaq-style Board of Growth Enterprises, fell 7.52% and stood below 2,000 points. The People's Bank of China concluded 150 billion yuan, or $23.4 billion worth of 7-day reverse repurchase agreements. That's the process in which central banks purchase securities from banks with an agreement to resell them in the future. The PBOC also channeled another 110 billion yuan via its medium-term lending facility, which allows banks to borrow from the central bank by using securities as collateral.
How do we instill in people a sense of why this is so critically important? And that is why we are proclaiming September 22nd, National Voter Registration Day.
But if serving the Lord seems undesirable to you, then choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve, whether the gods your ancestors served beyond the Euphrates, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you are living. But as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord.
It's September 22nd. It's September 22nd, and we're all still here. Awkward.
People, the flood is imminent.
This dry, hot weather will continue
until September 22nd, midday. And if the ark isn't finished by then, you will be.
Is that when it's going to happen? September 22nd, midday?
We are proclaiming September 22nd, National Voter Registration Day.
Choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve, whether the gods your ancestors served beyond the Euphrates, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you are living.
The innocent can never last. Wake me up when September ends. Like my father's come to pass, 7 years has gone so fast. Wake me up when September ends.
There are those that have seen the future. They've seen our disasters and our wars. For years, these remote viewers were a part of a military research program, accurately foreseeing the outcome of global events. But when they expected to see a future of prosperity, what they saw was our end. Now, the military officer in charge of this top-secret program shatters the silence, revealing to the public what the governments of the world have known all along.
The Norwegian government has finished construction of the Doomsday Vault to protect the world's plant species as sort of a modern-day Noah's Ark. More than 100 countries have backed the project.
To warn you.
Viewers began to pick up on a very large event that at first I thought was a nuclear war.
To prepare you.
Will cause the deaths of millions of people. I don't want to believe it.
To help you survive.
Knowing where to go with your last tank of gas is so important.
The kill shot.
The US Navy released this commercial that will raise the hair on the necks of conspiracy theorists and believers of Nibiru, because the subliminal message is too obvious to be denied. Now, regardless what the Sumerians saw in the sky and named Nibiru, the not-so-subliminal message in this video leaves no room for doubts that the US military-industrial complex is preparing to engage on whatever it is, when it's visible in the sky once again. And as usual with all military psyops, the plausible deniability is present at the end of the video, in order to keep the message hidden in plain sight.
The following is a list of the most memorable Edgar Casey predictions. And here we go. Number 1. The greater portion of Europe will be changed in the twinkling of an eye. Casey added that Japan will eventually go into the sea, and that land will appear off the east coast of America. Number 2. There will be a shifting of the poles. We are already witnessing a magnetic pole shift, so this prediction is coming to fruition already. Number 3. There will come a time when the sun will be darkened. It is believed that this will signify a spiritually awakening event. Number 4. The city of Atlantis will be found near Bimini. Casey added that quartz crystals will be recognized for their healing properties to uplift, empower, and synchronize many types of energy, such as light and electricity. Number 5. The records of Atlantis will be open to those that are spiritual initiates. Casey believes that a secret chamber will be found and the rising of the temple will make these records accessible. When asked, "Can you give in detail what the sealed room contains?" referring to the Atlantean library, Casey responded that it has a record of Atlantis from the beginning of those periods when the spirit took form. Casey also predicted that Atlantis must rise again. Number 8. New York State's East Coast and New York City itself will disappear. Well, let's hope not. Number 9. America's West Coast will be destroyed. Let's hope not on this one too. Casey added that there will be widespread destruction in Los Angeles and San Francisco, as well as in many portions of the West Coast. Land will appear off the coast of America, and I'm assuming that that land will be on the East Coast, and it's probably what Casey describes as being Atlantis. Casey also stated that the Great Lakes will drain into the Gulf of Mexico through the Mississippi River. You gotta think that this is related to the New Madrid fault line. Casey added that earth changes will occur in the central portion of the United States as well.
Hour of trial and testing. He's talking about a huge earthquake. He uses the word of the Lord. He speaks through the Bible and stuff. And he's saying the Lord told him to talk about this. Okay, just like the West Coast thing. Now this is East Coast. He was saying Delaware, all up through here. Carolinas, New York. Okay, so it's something we're definitely going to have to watch. Okay, so, Cliff High also, May 25th, 2013, his new Wojo, pretty much saying global coastal event on. He talks about Farsight Institute, remote viewers, and how there's a wedding today, which he talked about a few weeks ago, that there would be a wedding on the day of the global coastal event, and there would be people protesting around a dome, and the data reports and all that stuff, and data gaps. It seems like everything is coming true, what the Farsight talked about and all that stuff. And he says that if this does happen and he's isolated up there, take heed to that and know that within 2 days to a week, the global coastal event will affect everyone. That means us here on the East Coast as well. Farsight Institute shows DC underwater, New York underwater, Florida completely gone. I don't really like what's going on, but it's not nothing we can change. What God wants is what God wants. It's His will. It is in the Bible.
There also exists an extraordinary opportunity to form for the first time in history a truly global society, carried by the principle of interdependence. And if we act wisely and with vision, I think we can look back to all this turmoil as the birth pangs of a more creative turmoil, as the birth pangs.
However, the Bible also clearly warns about the times we live in and the signs to watch for. Right before the tribulation, we go through the birth pangs of the Antichrist. Right before the tribulation, we go through the birth pangs of the Antichrist.
And today, that new world is struggling to be born. A world quite different from the one we've known. A world where the rule of law supplants the rule of the jungle. A world in which nations recognize the shared responsibility for freedom and justice. A world where the strong respect the rights of the weak. We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order. A world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be.
There's a need for a new world order, but it has different characteristics in different parts of the world. Now, none of this may succeed this time, but this to me is sort of the outline by which someday, in the next few years, a solution will emerge.
When we are successful, and we will be.